Welcome back to NBA Cinema, guys. So let's talk about it. Mike Malone fired, and I went back to the interview that's going viral now. It says from 2 weeks ago, and they saying that some of the things Mike Malone was saying in here didn't sit too well with the players, calling them out for not watching film. But Mike Malone has always been a guy who holds everybody accountable, even himself. Just from what I could see in the media, he calls himself out when he feels like he could have made different changes. And one thing I'll say about Mike Malone. Remember Russell Westbrook had that bad sequence was about a week ago now. He stepped to the forefront and talked about the plays over the course of a game that could have affected the outcome. Talked about how Russ always plays with that motor, and so he didn't throw not his teammate, but didn't throw his player under the bus. And I always commended that about him. I always thought he was one of the good guys. He was one of the coaches. And seeing him get fired 3 games before the postseason, man, I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. Let's look at, well, we're going to look at a couple of things. Let's look at the interview they saying that, didn't go over too well with some of the players. And also we're going to look at his last interview, some pieces of it. Let's peek.
Before the game, points off your turnovers, second chance points, and they only made 14 threes, but everything you talked about, they were able to do tonight.
Yeah, that was embarrassing. And that was just a joke. Who are we kidding? 11 games to go, and that's the effort we put forth. I'm embarrassed by that game and our approach and how we played. 26 points on the offensive glass. Rebounding is effort. Rebounding is toughness. Rebounding is desire. And they just kicked our butts on the offensive glass. And then we give up 25 points off our turnovers. So 51 points. 51 points off of rebounds and turnovers. We had 18 blow-bys. All they ran tonight was pick and roll. Let me get the matchup that I want. I'm going to go one-on-one. And they beat us every time. And the few times they did miss, they got every offensive rebound. So I don't know what our guys are thinking with 11 to go. And I challenge them to look at the standings, look at our remaining schedule, and if we continue to play the way we're playing, we will be in the play-in tournament. Very simple. It's just the way it is. And I think each guy's got to look themselves in the mirror and start coming to each respective game with the proper mindset and have some pride. I didn't think we played with any pride tonight.
I feel like they took that.
I don't really care. It's not my job to evaluate how they take things. My job is to be honest, and sometimes brutally honest. And tonight, it was a brutally honest message. And the guys that are fully won't hear it. They'll say coach is tripping. And the guys that maybe do really care will, because they're not going to go back and watch their minutes, because nobody watches their minutes. Nobody watches film. So we'll have to show them the film. And I said, if somebody disagrees with me, please speak up. And nobody said a word. So, again, I'm not really concerned with how they took that message. My thing is being honest with how we just played. Just got blown out in L.A. Come here against a team that is down 3, 4, 5 starters, and you mess around with the game. That's what happens. And that's exactly what happened tonight. And the same thing that's been bothering us of late that I talked about pregame, the turnovers, the rebounding, was even worse tonight. And I didn't think it could get any worse, but it did. Thank you, everybody.
I've always loved that about Mike Malone, how he'll hold, the top player, franchise guy, all the way down to the 13th man accountable. And calling out the team for not watching their film really just kind of speaks to some of the things that has gone wrong with the Denver Nuggets. Just going out there and playing, and they don't play like a team that is focused as they were when they won the title. I mean, they were hungry for it, and now it looks like, they just going out there and playing. They're still really good, but to be owned like they were owned by Ant-Man, by the Wolves last year in the postseason, almost came back and won that series, but dug themselves too deep of a hole, to come out of, even though it went 7, and they were up. Just those bad habits are going to rear their ugly head at the wrong time. And one thing I would have loved to see Jokic do more is at least be a good position defender. Obviously, everybody can't challenge shots at the rim, but I do think he could try a little harder on the defensive end of the court. And I think Mike Malone speaks to not just Jokic, but other players who, um, don't give maximum effort a lot of the time. Because a lot of what allows Jokic to go, or when they were very successful, was Michael Porter Jr. being a 6'10" small forward, Aaron Gordon being a 6'10", guy who can defend multiple positions. They could hide that weakness that Jokic had. And Jokic could do his thing and excel on the offensive end, which he is top tier at. But on the defensive end, there's a lot of holes, and so they were helping cover those up. Where all he had to do was be solid, at best, and they could win the titles. But looking at this team now, don't look like that same attention to detail is being played. There's a disconnect somewhere, even in the office. We're hearing about Calvin Booth and Mike Malone issues. We're hearing about the front office being mad about this, that, and the third. So it's really nasty, untimely that this comes out. We're going to get into some pieces from his final interview, though.
But I'll start with me. We've lost 4 games in a row, and I'm never going to this guy, that guy. How about me as a head coach? Not doing my job to the best of my ability, and that's what I challenge over our guys. We haven't lost 4 in a row in a long time. And it's really easy, to be together and say family when you win. But when you're losing games, can you stay together? And do you have the balls, do you have the courage to go home and look in the mirror and say, what can I be doing better to help this team? And Sacramento, Memphis, Houston, no one's going to feel sorry for us. And so we put ourselves in this hole, and we only have ourselves to pull ourselves out of it. And I look forward to seeing how we respond.
Yeah, man. So this guy has the most regular season wins, playoff wins in the organization's history. The firing makes 0 sense, absolutely none. If you would have asked me which coach in the league, outside of Greg Popovich, outside of Eric Spoelstra, because he has the backing of Pat Riley and that culture, who would be the most unfireable coach, I might have leaned, more towards Mike Malone for that third spot. I could be missing somebody, but I would have put him. My point is, I would have put him amongst the very most job secure coaches there is in the league for the time being. So you just never know from day to day. Now, if it ain't Popovich and it ain't Riley running the show, then I don't know what to tell you. I don't think you have much job security in the NBA. Now we're gonna find out if Jokic is behind this at all, or if he approved this. At the very least, he would have to approve this, because they're going to do whatever they want to appease Jokic. And if he didn't approve it, he would want to be on his way out the door, seeing how they would do a coach like that. But I did want to show those clips because Mike Malone was calling out all the players, but also himself. And that's what I always liked about him as a coach. And I don't think this is a good firing. I think they probably could have retooled a little bit. I know obviously they missed Bruce Brown and those guys, Uncle Jeff Green. When they had him on the team, they were very deep, and the team just meshed very well together. But now, the West is so close, they could end up in a play-in situation. I think right now, for the time being, the Nuggets sit. Let me check this right quick while I have you guys here. The Nuggets right now today sit at 4th, but if they lose one more game and the teams under them win, they can drop. Shoot, they could drop all the way to 8. They can drop all the way to 8. Just one loss. So that's how important and dire these games are. They should have let him finish the season. This is disrespectful to a coach that brought you your first championship. Disrespectful, man. And I don't know, I'm a little livid behind this, but let me know how you guys see this thing in the comment section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Till next time. Peace.